Fun fact number 173. Oh, you can't see the top of my thing there. There you go. Now you can see it. Oh, doesn't make some of them. Or another one. Now you can't see them. It's Christmas. Merry Christmas. Little Santa there. Okay. Fun fact number 173. This is the one I kept hinting at. My daughter had a week off because she's a teacher for Thanksgiving. And she kept wanting to ride her bike, but other things kept coming up, or we were just tired or whatever, resting and recuperating. And so I was dealing with my car window issue and decided not to go to dance on Sunday morning an hour away. So I stayed home and I got invited to a lovely luncheon by a friend. And I just said, hey, I'm not going to be coming today, but thank you so much for the invite. Don't forget about me for your next wonderful cooking thing. So she decided to go for a bike ride. She went for a bike ride. I decided to make spaghetti from scratch. And I didn't make homemade bread this time. I just made this spaghetti sauce and everything from scratch. And hello, baby. And hold on. I can't find the other cat. I wonder if the other cat's outside. I've looked everywhere. Um, so she went on a bike ride before lunch. She was on her way back, and I said, hey, it's ready. Do you mind if I start eating? It was like 2 o'clock. And I said, do you mind if I start eating? I'm hungry. Is it okay if I eat without you? And she was like, yeah, that's fine. And I sat down, I got my plate together, and I sat down. I was going to have my lunch, and I was really hungry. And I took a few bites, and the phone rang. And it was her, and she said, I think I just got hit by a car. And I freaked out, of course. So um, I'm like half dressed. I'm dressed, but I have to get shoes on. I have to grab my purse and my keys and freaking out and crying, and are you okay? That thing. And she wasn't that far away. She about 10 minutes away, so not even, 5 minutes away, 2 minutes away, something like that. And I jumped in my car with my taped up window and drove down there. Um, and I talked to her on the phone the whole time. And it was a car versus bike um, thing. I was really having a good day. I was being really productive. Almost had the Christmas decorations all up. They're still not up now, but I was getting there, and I made some homemade food, and I hadn't done that for a while, and maybe we've been having sandwiches or whatever we can throw together, not any like real meal that I prepared, and I washed the dishes, and I'd made the meal, and I was decorating Christmas, and I'd applied for jobs, and oh my gosh, I was on top of everything, scheduling people to come buy stuff from online and pick it up, and just really getting on top of everything on Sunday. And I went down, and um, she was okay. She hadn't blacked out. She'd been wearing a helmet. Wear a helmet. Um, She had flown from her bike, but mostly kind of like popped off her bike and skidded down the road. Luckily, she was wearing long sleeves and um, long pants, but she still got road rash on her arms, her legs, bruises. Her tailbone was hurting. She was in shock, so she felt her legs were numb, but not like there wasn't like an excessive amount of blood. There was nothing that looked like it was just hanging there, and it was, car versus bike. So, but he wasn't going that fast because he couldn't see when I looked where he would have been driving up, you can't see shit because of the way the sun comes down that way. And it's just like this very, very small stretch. And what they really should do in that stretch is have some kind of bridge or something, because the guy, some people had, 20 people had stopped to help her, which I love where I live. And there was still a runner and a bicyclist, because it's a very popular running and biking trail. And they have crosswalks that are in particular colors to warn drivers that bicyclists and walkers will be going through there. And if the bicyclist is really going fast, they're just probably going to stop and they're going to go through there because they have the right of way in the crosswalk. And she was almost out of the crosswalk, but it seemed like he hit like the middle and the back wheel. We haven't assessed that damage yet on the bike because we were more concerned about her. But she also said she didn't see the car because there was another car. And once that car passed, she hadn't seen the other car and she thought it was safe and she went. Um, and he couldn't see her at all because of the sun. And she said he was like, it's uphill, so you can't go really slow because you'll go backwards. But he was like going, mm, trying to get up the hill, but also trying not to go really fast at the same time. So it's a really awful place. And the bicyclist behind her said, if it wasn't her, it was going to be me. And we talked to the town council about this and the Chamber of Commerce and everything about this particular crosswalk and where the cars come here, because it's a hazard just because of how the sun hits and how cars can block other cars and stuff. So um we didn't blame the guy, and she wasn't like, we didn't have to call an ambulance, but I did take her to the doctor, and the doctor said to take her to the emergency room. So the rest of my day was not eating lunch, obviously, and at the hospital. The rest until about, we were there. I think it happened around 2:30, and I think we were we're only at that hospital for a few hours, but I hadn't been to a hospital in a long time. So when I drove her, we had to get the bike in the back of the car. The guy that hit her exchanged numbers with her, checked in with her. When I showed up, he was so pale, like standing back from everybody else that was helping her and just shaking and pale and tears coming down his face. And he was around her age. He was cute too. Keep thinking it might be a Hallmark moment. They end up together, you know. But but I was joking around too because he looked so scared. I gave him a hug first before I gave my daughter a hug because I'm like, "Are you okay?" And we basically didn't blame him, but he still said he got Hallie's number. Not supposed to say my daughter's name. He texted later on when we were at the hospital and asked her how she was doing. Um, and we told him, hey, and he saw the Hunter Hunter bumper sticker on my car and said, you guys are Hunter Hunter fans? And me and Hallie looked at him and went, yeah, duh. And he showed us the spider tattoo that he had that was from Phantom Troop. And I said we should be friends. But yeah, it was scary. And it was her first experience. I've never been hit by a car, but it was her first experience with hit by a car or any car thing like that. And so that was Sunday, and Sunday night we were at the emergency room. Um, and they did a CT scan on her spine and mostly her tailbone that was hurting. And I told her, I said, I went down her back and I said, no, you're not screaming in pain. So you probably just bruised your tailbone, which is kind of more of a bitch than fracturing it. But in either way, they're not going to do anything. They're just going to give you pain meds and tell you to lay down and relax and let it heal the best it can. So we had the CT scan, nothing wrong. with her tailbone, nothing wrong with her spine. Um, but she also was wearing a helmet, and as she flew off the bike, she did this. She tucked and rolled, and that saved her a lot of damage. Um, like I said, she had like a really big road rash here. She had like a puncture here, but it wasn't like she wasn't, it was already like the blood was already coagulated, so it wasn't like dripping blood or anything. But when I finally got to take a look at her leg, her whole thigh and the whole side and interior of she lay on her left side and skidded, and it was like tore up a bit, and every color, it was like a galaxy of black and blue and purple and green and red, and it was quite something. It still is. It still hurts her now. But they gave her some pain meds and told her to stay home on Monday. So my whole Monday was gone because I stayed home and I took care of her. We have a bathtub. I made her another meal when we got home, like at, we got home 5:30, 6 o'clock. No, because we had to go pick up her pain meds and we thought CVS was going to close at 5:30 because when they called and said, hey, your medication's ready, we weren't out of the hospital yet. And we hadn't gotten the discharge papers from the emergency room. And we tried to get, it was like 5:20, and we were going to try to get to CVS by 5:30 when we left. And it was like 5:35 when we got there, but they were still open. So we just kind of went. And I said, oh, you're still going. We thought you closed at 5:30. And she goes, no, we close at 6. But we bought ice cream and some Hostess cupcakes. And she got her meds, and we went home and we heated up the spaghetti dinner. And neither of us had lunch or dinner by that point. So we had the spaghetti dinner and we had some ice cream or some cake. And she took her meds and she fell asleep. And then Monday I fixed another meal. It was rice and teriyaki chicken and artichoke. And we did that, and I fixed her a bath. And our bathtub is so big that it fills up with water, but it kind of runs out of hot water. So we boil like a huge pot on the stove twice and dump it in there, and that seems to make it hot enough to and fill it up enough to have a decent bath in the bathtub. And put bubble bath in there, put lavender stuff and sleepy time stuff. And she took her meds and she rested, but she was also getting ready for school because they only gave her a doctor's note for Monday. But I think it was more the shock and what was in her head of getting hit by a car that way. So that's what happened Sunday and Monday. And I, you know, it was hard on me. Yeah. Um, so we got through it. She's okay now. She's back at school, but then she had the car battery problem that I talked to you about before. The day she was going back. We got a jump. She made it there, made it back. Made it there, made it back. But then had a problem starting it on the way back. Got her new battery and she's fine, and she's at school today teaching the 6th graders. Um and I sold something online. The person I was supposed to meet up with on Sunday at 4, I texted her and said, hey, my daughter got hit by a car on her bike. We're at the hospital. Can we reschedule? And she's, oh my God, you know. And then the next day, somebody came and picked up the item and gave me some money, which I need. And then today, I had somebody give me some money for another item. So I'm working on it, but we are working through. And this will be scheduled later. So when I say today and all that stuff, it was probably a week or two ago. But yeah, she's okay. And but her leg, oh my, and there was a welt, because she banged it so hard, and the bruise is really, it's so. Um, we haven't even looked at the bike yet. Still, because somebody said it looked like the bike back brakes might have gotten smashed. Her bike doesn't look that bad either, and I think it's because the guy wasn't speeding up that hill. If he had been, she probably wouldn't have survived it. She would still be in the hospital at least. So thank you for not speeding up that hill and understanding that you couldn't see and somebody could have been in front of you. So appreciate that, and that she's still alive. And she's dealing with the pain. But yeah, the doctor was funny too. He was like, so Monday, you're going to feel like you got hit by a car. Because she was still in shock, so she didn't, nothing seemed that bad. So, yeah. Um, and then we realized that our Christmas party that's coming up um, is going to be, we have one friend who is walking across just like a month ago, walking across in a crosswalk. And the person was speeding through the crosswalk and hit him and made him fly down the road across the street onto the sidewalk on the other side. And he landed on his face. And he has it's, I didn't look at the pictures of right after, but when he came to see us, it was like still puffy and black and blue. And they had to shave his head. And he had beautiful hair. It's just like, okay. And then another person coming to the party, he has brain damage from a car accident where somebody hit him. And I said, what is this going to be? Car hit by a, the hit by a car club Christmas party. But you have to sometimes joke about things so you don't stop breathing and you don't hyperventilate and go into shock so much that you can't move. And if you can joke about it and laugh a little bit, it helps. It doesn't make it any different. It just lightens the load. So the other thing I was going to say was something that keeps coming up with Hallie, with my daughter's teaching, is that um, pivoting and reprioritizing, and that's what happened Sunday. That's what happened Monday, and then Tuesday I got sick to my stomach. Really, I was not digesting well and got sick to my stomach, and I also pretty much lost the whole day and a little bit of Wednesday because it was a lot for me, and also the fact that the money's not there, and the windows and the car issues and getting hit by a car and the battery issue. Tuesday, I think it was Tuesday into Wednesday morning, I got like an hour of sleep maybe. I remember it was like 4:30 a.m., 5 a.m., and I finally rolled over, but then she gets up at like 6:30, and then that's the morning she had the battery issue. So I went out at 6:30 to try to help her. So it was like an hour of sleep. I came back in, and I think after she left, I talked to her on the phone to make sure she made it to work in time or safely. And then I tried to go back to sleep, and probably slept for another hour, maybe two. And then my friend showed up to fix my window. So it was no sleep. And so Wednesday was like, but I got some sleep. I got some sleep and last night. So here I am. That's why I'm getting late with things and stuff like that. But that was, like I said, I scheduled these. So that was probably 2 weeks ago. And now we're moving on to Christmas. And maybe getting some days in at work or a job that's more stable. So if you've been hit by a car and you have a story, see, I've never been hit by a car. I've had like little fender bender things, or other people who've been in a car with other people who have ruined my car a little, but that they were driving. But I've never hit a person or been hit by a car or been in a car accident where I ended up in the hospital. Like I said, little fender benders. So it's a shock, and if you have, tell me your story in the comments and how you dealt with it. Ciao, Bellas.